So, yeah, this was supposed to be like a big thing, but Ursula, the Nazi German whatever of the EU, just lit a room full of gas. Now, whether this is documented or not, it is believed. First, we must put forward our terms. What do we mean by Nazi? By Nazi, we mean National Socialist, the ideology that puts one race superior, the German race, inferior to the other race. Magyar is a group of people who are Hungarian. The Order of the Dragon is an ancient order set up by a variety of what is now known as Eastern Bloc states against the Ottoman Empire. So, it's said in a variety of news sources that that uh, despite the fact that the world has already been divided into spheres of influence by Putin and Trump without consultation, but as a result of war sickness of the people, it is said that Ursula just froze money from the Magyars to finance the war in Ukraine against Russia. Stole Russian money. So, whether or not this is true, this war has been dragging on for quite some time. The Order of the Dragon was founded a long time ago as a result of Ottoman incursion into various lands of Magyars, Vlach, Transylvanians, Moldovians, and others. The idea behind the Order of the Dragon was kind of sort of like the Warsaw Pact, that if one was attacked, others would join. It is something that led to the mass murder of people in Transylvania under Horthy after the overthrow of Bela Kun by the German King Karl, who was not elected nor had anything to do with any of the nationalities in Romania. So King Karl was a bit of an idiot. No, to say that King Karl was a bit of an idiot is an understatement. King Karl was kind of like Marie Antoinette, saying stuff like, let them eat cake, and other such nonsense. So, this war has been dragging on for quite some time. People have been freezing to death, particularly within Romania and Moldova, including Ukraine and Transnistria, and the Moldovians within the Ukraine. People are freezing, and in the name of environmentalism, they want to blow up the canal of that has been built quite some time ago. This canal was built to last. It was built. A canal is a dam. Many, many, many people died to build the canal. The canal provides energy, clean water, and many other necessities for the peoples of what should be the Republic of Romania, which existed under Vlad Tepes. Vlad Tepes led a guerrilla war against the Ottoman Empire, and as a result of this guerrilla war, uh, the Crusades were started. One crusade, at least, in any case. Uh, while after Vlad fled from the kingdom, like from the prison of the Sultan, he got all the boyar or the landlords together, and well, first he led a people's war, killed the puppet prince, and invited all the boyars together in one room and asked a simple question: why does Romania have so many people in power, like so many princes? Oh, you know how it is, blah blah blah. We have these are just the way that things are. And he was a bull. I believe it's because these guys are all greedy. And as a result of that, they all stood up and fled to leave, in which led to people being murdered and slaughtered, like the evil people, the boyar. Uh, Dracula, or Vlad Dracul, means the son of the dragon. Now, the book Dracula was written by Bram Stoker, who was Irish. And the reality of the situation is that in those times, you had to talk in code. And basically, what Bram Stoker, because Vlad Tepes wasn't even from Transylvania, he was the Prince of Wallachia. Basically, what Bram Stoker's message was that you royals better get your shit together, or you know, Vlad Dracul of the Order of the Dragon will come for you, and with his armies of wolves, and which, if anyone knows, wolves are a symbol of the Dacian people that who would believe would go into battle and turn into wolves, and etc., etc., etc. So it was kind of like screw you to the royals, that if you don't get your act together, the Romanians are going to come and take you. So it's actually a good book. I'm not talking about like the movies. I'm talking about the letters and that sort of thing. Very well played, very well written. So while Vlad was fighting a people's war on one front, on the other front, the Pope, who named him a Knight of Christ or some crap, allowed Poland to attack from behind. And as a result, for the second time, Vlad went to ask for assistance from the Corvines of Hungary, who are also Romanian, and were also part of the Order of the Dragon. And this is important because, first of all, this war benefits no one. The people of Romania do not want this war. The people of Moldova do not want this war. The people of Transnistria do not want this war. And many people see the EU as some sort of puppet. And the United States is no longer financing the war. Trump is moving from an era of global internationalism to internal sort of protectionism. The European Union is not happy with that. Now, why do I call Ursula a Nazi? Because after World War II, when Germany was divided in half, the leadership was changed, but with things such as Operation Werewolf and Operation Paperclip, uh, Nazis were restored in power, and Nazis were allowed, not only allowed, but given free rein and assistance to try to overthrow the Soviet Union through guerrilla war. There were weapons drops, that sort of thing. Operation Paperclip basically took their doctors, who were pretty much eugenicists and mass murderers, and let them work at like NASA and other such places. The system of the state was still the same. It was still the same police force. It served the same state. They were still anti-worker. They actually had all the principles. Like, a lot of people in the right call this thing the deep state. The Nazi deep state survived. Now, the Red Army faction named themselves the Red Army faction for two reasons. It was the Red Army that defeated them at the Battle of Stalingrad and then went all the way to Berlin, at which point in time Hitler killed himself. Himmler was trying to cut a sort of deal with the United States to have a Nazi state without Hitler, which is very well documented in Hannah Arendt's book Eichmann on Trial. Now, this is also very important because in the book None is Too Many, it's documented that the state of Israel was not created for the benefit of the Jewish people. And in fact, most of the people were turning Jews, particularly Canada, away. And after World War II, one of the easiest ways to prove you weren't a communist spy was to show your Nazi SS tattoo. So these SS people, some of them were killed, some of them were hired, some of them killed themselves. But the Gestapo and the intelligence services and other things were the same. And at this point in time, we were having what I would say the third world proxy war for national liberation. We had the battles in Algeria, led by people like Ben Bala. We had Nasser. We had many people. And of course, we had Vietnam, which bled the welfare state of the US that was promised social justice down the drain. So these wars of national liberation were supported by the Soviet Union, or according to Che Guevara, not for any other reason than for their own political survival from attacks from the United States. Now, the United States, towards the end of the Vietnam War, and I'm talking about the battle at Dien Bien Phu, was financing 80% of the war in Vietnam because they wanted this war to go on. Well, the United States at this point in time is turning its powers inwards, and that leaves Europe hung out to dry. And it's not that Putin is good or bad. It is in Putin's interest that the Irish question be solved one way or another. And what I mean by that is it is not Putin that is causing the energy crisis. It is not Putin that is doing any of this. It is the leaders of the European Union. It is your government is killing you. Your government is allowing you to freeze to death just for paper. And this is an interesting fact because it's already been a powder keg. As I mentioned before, they blew up the canal. They are poisoning the water. They're making it illegal for people to cut the trees in the commons in Romania. People are freezing to death. The old Soviet apartments that were built to last under Ceausescu uh, are many of them are having their energies cut off and that sort of thing, and they are being dragged into the war. And one of the key issues stopping this is Ireland and the Irish question. The fact of the matter is, people only see one side of things. So, we had a talk the other day at the Social Development Center, and one of the speaker was an Irish comrade who considers themselves Gaelic. I don't know how I would describe him. I know what the state would describe him. The state describes him as a terrorist. Why is he a terrorist? Ireland has been at war and has been occupied for 800 years. It was then divided, 6 counties under the British and 26 counties to the Free Staters. Now, what are the Free Staters? The Free Staters are narrow nationalists. Now, what is a narrow nationalist? There's 2 types of nationalism: the nationalism of the oppressed and the nationalism of the oppressors. Now, the nationalism of the oppressors is colonial and genocidal. And the Free Staters are basically, how would one define them? A Vichy type government. Like what I mean is like they fought a war, a guerrilla war with De Valera, Michael Collins, and it doesn't matter who was right or wrong. What matters was that a treaty was signed. Now, for our native comrades listening, you have to understand anytime the British says treaty, that means you're being fucked. That's just a fact of life. Uh, and the Free Staters became narrow nationalists. Instead of supporting the struggle for national liberation, the Oganahera, or the Irish Republican Army, was banned. They split up into two groups. Many of them were openly fascist. The emphasis was on Catholicism, which is very different than the idea of republicanism. Republicanism is the idea of a people's republic where the laws are written by reason, logic, not by superstition or the ideas of some hula bula who, I don't know, looks into a hat like Joseph Smith and talks to the angel Moroni on ergot fungus or whatever the heck. So, yeah, Collins was killed. Uh, they joined, they remained neutrals, but they were narrow nationalists. They could not deliver national liberation without delivering class liberation. So, therefore, they focused very much on things such as Catholicism, issues such as abortion, issues such, well, I don't know if they had abortion back in the day. I don't know. It's not some, well, actually, yeah, they did because the like Russia did. So the Free Staters delivered narrow nationalism. Within this war, they were neutral, like Romania. But their interests weren't the interests of the Irish people. Their interests were the interests of the pockets. This is very similar here in Canada to the Front de Libération du Québec. Now, many of you have heard about the October crisis. I remember in grade 9, I got a F on a paper on the October crisis because I said the FLQ were right. So the FLQ was an organization of national liberation. This was the era of a American Indian movement, the Black Panther Party for self-defense, the guerrilla war in Cuba, the war in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, uh, the so-called Suez Canal crisis, and that sort of thing. And the FLQ manifesto, so they kidnapped two people because they were just getting arrested, and they declared martial law. All constitutional rights were suspended. Anyone who didn't allow or believe in what they did just basically got ripped off. So, with that being said, within the parliament, where, so with all this going on, they were, they considered themselves a people's army, and they kidnapped or held for ransom uh, the Minister of Unemployment and Assimilation and another guy. Martial law was declared. People's rights were lost. People as far as Vancouver who did not speak French or were just suspected was basically what allowed this to happen. Like, was what led to this. Sorry, I didn't mean. Remember, I just had a concussion last week, and I just remembered yesterday what it was. So, yeah, I might be slurring or whatever, and might be getting like some of the names muddled and confused. Well, not confused. Like up here, it's all good. But, anyways, when the FLQ manifesto was read, millions rushed into the street, and then two factions were formed. One was the idea of creating a Marxist Leninist party, and the other is on creating a broad party, Le Parti Québécois. Now, if anyone looks at Parti Québécois today, one sees nothing but narrow nationalism. Language laws have nothing to do with benefiting the people of Quebec or anything like that. So, yeah, that's what the situation was. People were getting arrested, shot, who knows what else as a result of this. So now what they're doing is they're saying that the Romanian elections are invalid because of suspicion that they had no proof of Russian interference at the time. They still have no proof because there was no Russian interference. Like it's played out. All Russia wants is breathing space. And it's in our interest. It's not that Putin loves Irish people or Romanian people, but Putin recognizes the fault lines here, and these are the fault lines. And with all this going on, this happens right after the ripping off of pictures of people such as Mihai Eminescu, who the Cubans built a statue next to Jose Marti. It's pretty cold there right now, and people we know there have no electricity, poisoned water, if they have running water at all, and it's just like not good. So to rip a bunch of national heroes, being one of the corporations that is dumping cheap and flooding the market with cheap goods, and financing a war that not only doesn't benefit them but goes against their interests. This sounds very familiar to the situation to both the French and the Russian Revolution. Crisis at home, war abroad, a fifth column within. Now, what do I mean about a fifth column? A fifth column is, well, like one of the Nazis bragged that they were able to win so quickly because of the fifth column. Because the four columns were outside, the fifth were inside, the Vichy's, the traitors, that sort of thing. And so, yeah, that's the situation right now. And within the situation, it turns out that, like, they themselves admit that Russian were behind the cause of this in many ways. I'll go more into it in the next clip, which I hope will be very, very, very soon. Sorry, I'm having problems breathing. Yeah, I kind of have screwed my body over. But I have been around all the world, and I am 45, and I have been poor. I know what it's like to be without. And what you need to remember is one of the things that Ceausescu did was Ceausescu educated the population. So you have an educated population, and you have an enemy on both sides. And propaganda was spread outside about what was going on. What really happened was the IMF was bleeding Romania dry for money the Romanian government didn't even occur. So, yeah, we have the same situation going on today. Your government is killing you. They don't care about you. Putin wants this to be solved. The Americans want this to be solved. I don't trust the Hungarian state. The Hungarian state has a history of betraying, and it's going to be a rough one unless people do something about it. And it's an international struggle. Colonialism started in Ireland. It must end there. And when I say end there, I don't mean no truth and reconciliation bullshit. Truth and reconciliation. There is no reconciliation, and there is definitely no truth. In Canada, we have this thing called the truth, and this is where the whole Frankfurt School of like Gramsci and all that stuff comes in the idea of narrow nationalism. Now, narrow nationalism, as I stated, goes against the interests of the people because it can't give the people what they want. So instead of focusing on mineral rights, instead of focusing on land issues, instead of focusing on water, instead of focusing on the right of self determination, it gets the victims of colonialism to relive their trauma while the colonizers do land acknowledgements, which are platitudes and empty words that mean nothing. If they really cared about the native people, there would be real justice for Dudley George, who is still dead and not coming back to life. Wounded knee would not have happened, and many other things would have been different. I'm sort of running out of breath here, so there will be a next part of this whole fascism stuff. I'm really not feeling well right now, so I hope everyone has a happy New Year's. Oh yeah, let's continue on this whole reconciliation thing. Reconciliation means both sides are equally to blame. That's not true at all. The indigenous people of Ireland have nothing to reconcile. They were the ones who were occupied. It was Cromwell who murdered the Irish, not the other way around. They started this conflict, and they will continue this conflict because it's in their interest. In terms of truth, there, like I already said, there is no truth. If people really wanted to solve the indigenous issues, they wouldn't be focusing on things such as language laws and instead create a republic which is based not on blood quotas and other fascistic things, but on rather on faith to the republic. And the republic is made up of everyone who believes in the ideals of the republic. So, yeah, the next episode, I'll put my personal life and my personal role in this. I hope this gets out to people. I am going to have to let you all go. Thank you very much. Bye.